What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to our channel. We are your hosts, the Distorted Theorists, but you will notice today that we have a very, very special guest, Peter.
I forgot who you're. What's your name again?
I'm Garrett Wang.
Yes. Oh, this is the wrong interview side.
All right, I'll be gone.
Yeah. You're scheduled for 12:30.
Well, Garrett is here at Sci-Fi on the Rock 2025 as one of our guest panel guests. But Peter, I know you've been waiting to talk to this gentleman because we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now that he was coming.
Yeah, it's different because, well, we've had Robert O'Reilly of Star Trek fame and past as well, and now we're getting
Gowron.
We've had, like, Sci-Fi in the past has had a lot of Star Trek individuals and personalities before. So this is your first time showing up.
Yes.
But you were on a different form. You were on Voyager, correct?
I was on Voyager, but I just want to first off say that I love Justin's description of I am a guest panel guest. I will start saying that from now on.
Listen.
This weekend I will be a guest panel guest.
Under redundancy, redundant.
So yeah, Voyager's different.
Yeah. So in the big picture of Star Trek, again, for the uninitiated, such as myself and Jussy, because I'm the Star Wars guy.
He will admit
that. Where I know the next generation is going off, brave and bold.
Yeah. So you're saying where does it fall? So,
yeah.
Obviously, 1966 was the original series, right, with Captain Kirk and Spock. That ran for 2 seasons, basically, and then they moved on to.
The movies.
Say that wrong. I mean, I don't even know if I said that right. So it started in 1966 with the original series. Then it went to the movies. Yeah. The first Star Trek movie. Then it went to Next Generation. Right. Started in 87, 88.
And that's what I know, because I remember the music.
That one.
Yeah.
Captain Picard.
Yeah.
When that ended, well, let's be more precise. Before the ending of that, by a couple of seasons, they started Deep Space Nine, which was a Star Trek show that stayed on a station.
Right.
They didn't actually explore. It stayed right there. They had shuttles and other craft that they would travel on, but that's really about
that's where the other guest we have is from, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Right, who will also be with us on the channel later.
Yes. We end, TNG ends, and then Voyager was the show that took over after TNG ended. Okay. So Star Trek Voyager is the 4th television series in the Star Trek.
But not necessarily in the continuity.
Right.
Okay. That's interesting.
So is the Voyager the ship, or is it literally like we're Voyagers?
It is the ship, the USS Voyager.
Okay. All right. So given that, I still know nothing about Star Trek, and we'll leave it at that. But so Star Trek is one thing, because that's what a lot of people are going to know you from at this point.
Right.
But let's just talk about you in general. So you've been started, I believe, since the early 90s, late 80s, or something along those lines.
Early 90s. Yeah.
Okay, fair.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, well, it was just like, he's the same age as us. That's when I got started too. But when you got your start, it was a little tidbit that I found online. I thought it was really cool. It was and maybe you can shed some light if this is true or not.
For sure.
You got into acting because you wanted to become, or at least portray, a role model to other Asian Americans that was like, hey, this is possible. We can do it. Is it more representation, or did Wikipedia have that wrong?
Well, I would say that's somewhat right. Yeah, I've always been someone who's entertained my parents and my parents' friends with my accents and impersonations. So, as a kid, I always hoped that I would be a comedic impersonator.
Right.
Along the lines of the most famous impersonator in the world, Rich Little, who is Canadian.
That's true, yeah.
So I loved Rich Little. I wish that I was an Asian Rich Little. I was hoping to be him. But to be an impersonator and whatnot, it's a tough gig to get into. It's not it's very niche.
Well,
we're still trying.
Well, having said that, I mean, we brushed up on our information, of course, before you came here and all this. And I noticed one of the things that I happened to notice, because I kind of laughed at it myself, because I feel like I'm kind of like, or used to be like this, is that you were doing the acting to almost to say to your parents, from what I understand, is like, I can do this. You believe in me, I can do this. But I was wondering if that was the case, if after you got your big break in what maybe your mind, maybe Voyager was your first big break, but maybe there's something else that was more important to you.
Right.
Did you go back and be like, "Ha, Mom and Dad," or were you like, I'll take that confidence boost now. Like, I just wondered what played out when they finally, put the hand out, if I may,
You've
and
done
said,
well,
"Good job,
son."
son." Yeah, exactly. Like, what was that moment like for you?
That moment was when I was cast in. It was a sitcom called All American Girl. and I played the boyfriend of the lead, which was Margaret Cho, the comedian.
Oh,
And
okay.
I played her anesthesiologist boyfriend. Now, to my parents, all the way up to grade 8, all the way to the first year of college, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and specifically an anesthesiologist.
Right.
The doctor that, that puts you
it
under.
was a joke within a joke.
Literally, but
See, there I am. I made it.
I invited my parents down to the filming, the taping of that episode. So they're in the live studio audience, and when the hair and makeup team was fussing over me, I look up into the stands. I go, "Look, Mom and Dad, I'm finally a doctor on TV!" Like that, and the entire audience starts cracking.
Well, it's just, the reason I bring up that question is because I have two parents, obviously, but one of them is a bit more TV, internet, more familiar. My dad, on the other hand, is a little more. He likes the woods, hunting, stuff like that. So he doesn't really use the internet, stuff like that.
Got it.
So when I do things like this internet stuff or YouTube, I'm always like, I don't really mention that because I know that they don't understand it.
Got it.
So in your case, did your parents have a good grasp on the acting and the I guess the lifestyle, and that's why you were kind of going, or were they more like, what is this you're doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't know anything about it.
No, wow.
They were very angry when I told them.
Yeah, and that's I guess I want to shed some light on that. How did you say to them, no, this is what I want to do? Because for me, I enjoy this.
Yeah.
I enjoy this, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes they don't understand. So I'm just wondering, how did you overcome that hurdle for yourself?
It was a long battle, a long discussion.
Yeah?
For years, yeah.
Really?
When I told them, obviously I talked about Rich Little, and then I said, okay, if I can't be Rich Little, I want to be one of the members of Saturday Night Live.
Okay, yeah.
But then it took Lorne Michaels literally 45 or 50 years to finally cast an Asian on the damn show. So for a while, I thought Lorne Michaels was racist against Asians.
Okay.
I'm like, what's happening? Why not?
Yeah.
Finally, there's Bowen Yang. He finally makes it onto the show.
Right.
But again, that's very niche. So I thought, all right, what's the other? What's sort of the adjacent, impersonation occupation that would be, or the adjacent Saturday Night Live cast member would be just an actor, right? So that's why I decided.
Okay, so you kind of hold, because I was actually just thinking about how did you go from wanting to be this, I guess, comedian to your role on Star Trek, which, and I'll be honest with you, I mean, again, I haven't even watched as much Star Wars as this guy, I'll be honest with you, transparent, but I assume your character is not a comedic character out there, right? No, so how were you prepared to transition? Okay, I might have to end my comedy journey and focus more on my hardcore acting journey.
Acting.
Yeah.
He's an actor.
But I mean, what I'm saying is there are comedians that act, right? Or vice versa. But I'm just wondering, how did you deviate from this way to that way and be like, I got to make this choice?
Well, because I realize in Hollywood sort of has they have a bias against. I mean, when they think comedic actor, they think to be a comedic actor, you have to be comedic looking. You've got to be overweight.
That's how Jim Carrey got to start. Because Jim Carrey,
I should do well.
That malleable face.
Yeah.
But look, John Candy.
Yeah.
Look at all these people that made it big.
Yeah.
They're not Brad Pitt looking. They're not Lee Mann looking.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, so I don't have that kind of odd, quirky look. So I'm probably not going to get cast in these comedic roles. So I said, if I'm going to make a living, I've got to be a dramatic actor. I've got to be a serious, actor.
You got to withstand.
And that's and on my show, I'm as serious as it gets. He's totally duty-minded. He's the young.
Very stoic.
Well, not stoic, but just really duty-minded.
He's focused.
Stoic would be more our Vulcan.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
So Harry Kim is the youngest member of Starfleet on my show. I'm the youngest character, basically. So
you got something to prove.
He's wet behind the ears.
Yeah.
He's a novice.
So I mean, obviously you had auditioned, I assume, for.
Yeah.
Well, I should ask. Did you audition? Because I mean, there are times where you audition for point A, and the next thing you know, point W is coming at you like, hey, we seen your audition for this thing you did over here a year ago, but now we want you on this show. But did you actually specifically go in for Voyager Star Trek, or?
Yeah, I did.
And how was that? I guess that was start to finish when you got the call. Boom.
It was the longest audition process I've ever been in.
Really?
It was almost 2 months. Yeah. So they literally whittled it down to me and this one other kid from New York. And then after that audition, I asked the casting director, what's going on? They said, they're sending the kid from New York back to New York. I said, does that mean I got it? They're like, well, not exactly.
Yeah.
I said, what does that mean? They said, they want to take 2 weeks to find older Harry Kims, in their 30s, whittle that down to one guy and have him compete against you.
And you were what age at the time?
I was 23, I think.
Oh, okay,
22, 24, or whatever. So basically I had to wait another 2 weeks for them to find some 30-something-year-old Asian guy, and I went up against him. And I, thank God I prevailed at the very end.
And that process, when you say, like, I know you're saying go up against it, but, like, are you guys ever, like, close in the same room doing anything? It's all separate.
Yeah, usually not. It's all phone.
I didn't know if you were, like, both in the waiting room, like, waiting, right?
Can I go home? It's been 2 weeks.
But
you're just sitting here dying for water, right?
They saw every other Asian, like, for instance, K-Hu Kwan, I don't even know how he pronounces his name right now. It's Jonathan K. Kwan before, but K-Hui Kwan, yeah. He auditioned for
short round. Sorry,
short round audition for Harry Kim.
Wow.
I saw. Who else was in that audition? Every Asian actor that you could think of auditioned for.
Was there? Wow. Yeah.
Everybody. And that's the thing too. So like. We're talking a lot about like trying to find like an Asian. So obviously they were thinking like Asian. We want an Asian actor for this
it was
for
written
sure.
as an Asian character.
Yeah. Okay.
So and that was something that I was kind of thinking as well, because I remember it was a clip that I'd seen, and I remember watching the video when I was a kid, and it was funny. But I remember watching rewatching the clip from the Aristocats of when everybody wants to be a cat, and I was like, there's a Siamese cat, and it's nowadays when you look at the way that he performs, you're like, that's horrific now, and they kind of come back. I'm not going to do it. I'm not getting canceled this quick.
So the Siamese cat has an Asian accent.
Oh, very much, and he's got the hat, and he plays the piano with chopsticks. I'm pretty sure I was like, I don't think today this would not fly.
This would not fly. Not today.
So from that, like, have you ever had to fight against the kind of like the nasty word of stereotyping? Because now.
Yeah, let me just talk about a stereotypical audition.
Perfect. Okay.
So in this day and age, auditions are all self-tape now. Where you record yourself, you attach that file, you send the email into your agent. You don't even go into an office. But back in the day when I was auditioning, you drove yourself to the audition. You met them in person.
Yep.
And that's part of my strength, is they get to meet me, feel my energy.
Same, right? That's same. Yeah.
But I had an audition for a Japanese Yakuza member, so it was a mafia guy, and so I go in there with my best. For those of your viewers, if they know, Toshiro Mifune is like a very famous Japanese actor.
Okay.
So
I have an idea. I know what he sounds like.
So I was trying to do, my best Japanese accent. This kind of a Japanese accent.
That's why I didn't do it.
At least you could do it.
So, because when Japanese people talk, they talk different. It's a different accent than Chinese.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the audition for the casting director, and the casting director was not Asian. She was middle-aged Jewish lady, and she's like, that's really not the that's not the Yakuza Japanese accent I'm looking for. I said, it doesn't sound.
And you're like, how would you know?
Yeah, she goes, can you do it again for me? And I'm like, okay. So I muster up a less. I tamper it down a little bit. She's like, no, that's still not what I'm looking for. I don't know what you're doing right now, but that's not exactly it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, is she looking for some really
Hey, how's it
horrible,
going? I'm part of the Yakuza.
No.
Hello.
So I gave her. I pulled from. I didn't pull it out. I thought, what if I try the total stereotypical Cantonese, Chinese?
Then
ask for an example.
So then I
Justin,
so then I start to talk like I'm from Hong Kong.
Okay,
I'm going to deliver your noodle to you.
Okay.
It's a very typical
I'm actually loving this
Cantonese
story.
Chinese accent.
Yeah.
And then she goes, now that is the Yakuza accent I'm looking for. And I sat there, I go, ma'am, I'm done. Thank you.
Really?
Like,
because she didn't even understand what she was wanting.
She didn't do the research.
But you know what? To me, if I was like on the outside looking in, that was very professional in my opinion of you, that you stood up and be like, you know what, I could do this, but I'm going to choose not to, right? But like, that's really cool.
Yeah. So growing up, after seeing that, like as a kid with the animation, you're like, you're laughing, you're like, ha, and it was in Bugs Bunny and all the cartoons are like great. But then as you got older, then the closest representation I can remember in the 90s was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah. But nowadays, I find that there's much more, like everything is what you want to call the melting pot. I don't know if that's the right term, but like Asian representation in film is so much bigger now. Because I mean, as we were talking about, sorry, short round, I can't say her name, but he won the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And we've got a Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, and he just did Mickey 17. And Simu Liu, who's huge now with Marvel. So
coming back to Shang-Chi, just announced a couple days ago.
And Michelle Yeoh from Crouching Tiger and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and so many other things, and Grey's Anatomy. There's so much more, and it's almost kind of like, it's not the stereotype, so you just kind of forget, and it's nice to kind of be like, oh yeah, well yes, you are an Asian actor that's in this, and it's kind of, have you found that there's less, I guess, stereotyping or typecasting or
it's okay. It's always been one step forward for Asians and two steps back.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's been like that since the dawn of time. The very first Asian actor that was going to be huge was back in the silent movie era. Okay. His name was Setsu Hayakawa. So this was a Japanese man who was the toast of the town. I mean,
what do I know that name from?
Well, you probably don't.
No, maybe not. I'm thinking of the Angry Samurai stuff because that was different silent.
Right. So what happened was Hayakawa was so popular that the Hollywood bigwigs said, "Hey, we're going to actually build you your own studio. It's going to be your studio.
Okay.
You get to greenlight whatever projects.
Right,
you get to pick your co-stars.
Right.
You choose everything. Sound stages will be built in your name. Everything's signed on the dotted line." He signed on the dotted line. A week later, Pearl Harbor happened. And they just tore up. So again, one step forward, that's a massive step forward, right?
Wow.
And then two steps back.
Like that could actually change the cinematic industry in a lot of cases.
Well, it
right?
did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look what happened here in Canada.
So
Right. Well, and the most recent example is, oh my God, Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay.
That movie, the guy who shepherded that project, Netflix offered him way more than the film studio that ended up producing it. And they were like, "Listen, as Netflix, we're going to throw a ton of cash at you. Come with us." And he was like, "No, I don't want to release this on Netflix. I want this to be a theater release across the country."
Again, standing up for what they, I don't want to say believe in, but you know what I mean, stand up for themselves.
Yeah, he took way less money, and it became a massive film, a huge success, which would then dictate tons of other Asian projects being greenlit. But so the step forward was Crazy Rich Asians being a theater release.
Right.
The two steps backward was COVID. And President Trump saying this is the China flu, the Kung flu. And so guess what?
I didn't hear that second one.
All that momentum gone. Because of goddamn COVID.
I remember
and this
that.
is what's so nuts.
Yeah.
There's so much animosity towards Asians in both Canada and America after COVID came out. But the reality is, COVID came from, it's in China. So it's the Chinese there. It's not the Chinese in Canada now.
No.
Yeah,
the Chinese
it's not the ones existing.
Dude, we're Canadian. We're Americans. Why are you giving us crap over this, right?
I'm laughing with you, by the way, not at you.
Because logic goes out the window. When the world leader says,
you start pointing fingers.
And it is crazy, I guess, when it starts leaching into things, unfortunately, that people just want to enjoy, like movies, cinema, television, gaming. When the politics of things start leaking into those are escapes. Don't taint our escapes, right? That's the way I'd like to say
leave us alone.
One of the biggest, well, I can't say one of the biggest controversies that come out now, and this is a bit of a side, but I'm just going to kind of vent about it. Is I'm currently playing the new Assassin's Creed Shadows, which takes place in, I guess, feudal continental Japan. I don't know, because it's in the 1500s. And it deals with two protagonists, Naoe, who is basically a shinobi, and then we've got Yasuke, who was a black samurai. He was a Jesuit who was I think it was a slave, and he becomes a samurai. But in the true history of it, again, it's a freaking video game. Nobody likes Ubisoft. I love Ubisoft. Anyways, but they were like, well, this isn't right, and they changed this, and then they become lovers. And I was like, it's a video game about assassins with hidden blades. It wasn't a thing. The Templars,
leave us alone.
But I'm playing the game, and it's becoming one of my favorite games right now at the beginning because I'm no one's seeing this when I'm playing, but I'm doing the no, I can't do this. This is awful. But I played Ghost of Tsushima, which is an incredible game. The history that's in it is amazing, even if they're not real. And then we got Ghost of Yotei, who's going to be coming out at the end of this year. So it's an area that it's like I want to explore this more, but it's being vilified now, especially because the whole Ubisoft thing. And they're like, well, that wouldn't happen. Like, it doesn't matter. But if you would just get behind that and more people would play this, it would get more people into it. So then it would help. Like, so it's kind of that same situation. It's like, we're doing this again. Like, but Ubisoft Toronto did it. All right, we'll be back in the corner.
You know what? That might be, I know, from the negative side of things, but it might be a good time to ask Garrett one of our favorite questions for our people about gaming and television and movie. We always like to bring in our guests and ask you, what are you into in the world of geek when it comes to maybe you video game? What movies are you enjoying these days? What television shows are you interested? And we are always interested because as an actor, do you appreciate things the same? Is there a different, like you sat back like, oh, they did that there. Oh, they did that. Like, so I'm just wondering, what are you into as a person? Like,
I've been a nerd my entire life. My very first sci-fi that I ever
Star
saw.
Trek.
My first sci-fi that I ever saw, I was 8 years old when the original Star Wars came out in the movie theaters. So I was a Star
You're going to
Wars
have to look that way.
Star Wars fan
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
But I love all forms of geekdom or nerddom. So whether it's
anything coming out that you're like, oh, I can't wait to see this movie, or I can't wait to watch this show.
No, there's nothing that I'm like, oh.
No?
Oh, no, I take that back.
Okay.
They're doing a remake of Enemy Mine.
Okay.
Which is I don't know if you guys know that. It was a Lou Gossett Jr.
Okay, no.
film.
Sounds familiar.
Okay.
It's just in the recesses of
in the back.
But yeah, indulge. So what are you excited for that?
Because Terry Matalas, who did the season 3 of Picard, the showrunner for that, he's going to be helming that project.
Okay.
It's just a remake of.
So you know his work in essence.
He was a production assistant on Voyager, so he was the guy riding a bike from the main office to the sound stages with coffee.
Because like right now, right now, obviously in our world, the reason we bring it up is, let's say even look forward to like July, which is a heavy hitter month for movies this year. You got Jurassic World, what's it called now? Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth. You got
Superman,
Fantastic Four, and Superman, all dropping in 1 month. So that's our bread and butter for sure.
Yeah. No, I love Marvel. I love DC. I love Jurassic Park. I love all the you name it. Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I'm a fan of it.
Big fan over there.
When Simu came to his position in the Marvel film that he did. I remember I followed him on Twitter and he immediately followed me back. He sent me a direct message. He's like, I'm such a big fan. Like, I love you.
And that's the funny thing. I always wonder about the inner workings of like actors and voice actors, right? Like that little community that maybe goes on behind the scenes. Like you think Simu Liu to me, I'm like, oh my god, he's in Marvel. But then he sees he's like, oh my god, it's Garrett Wang.
Yeah,
right? Like, you know what I mean?
The biggest thing about that is like he's human, just like the rest of us.
Exactly.
So the community of actors, when you see them at the Oscars, and you're like, oh, they're on the pedestal and they're doing that.
But you always like to feel back
their gift bags and everything like that. But they're just being like, this is like a rap pyre. Like, oh my god, I loved you in this. Like I saw you on Shift the other day. It's the same thing.
But if you're an Asian actor, you do know the other Asian actors out there. Okay. Sometimes you don't know them personally, but you know their work.
Yeah.
When I met Benedict Wong for the first time.
Oh, you've met him. Oh, yeah. Okay, there, indulge. Now indulge.
When I met him at a convention, he was like, oh, dude, can we take a photo? I'm like, so he's asking me for a selfie.
And you're there like,
I'm going, okay, brother, yeah. So.
I've mentioned this for a couple of people before. I don't know if I've actually done it on video before, but if I met Benedict Wong, and I'd be like, can I have an hour of your time? Here's a phone book. I just want you to start reading the names. Because I've heard in the interviews, because is he Australian or is he British? I can't remember off the top of my head.
British.
Okay. Because I've seen him in some of the interviews, and I was just, and it came out, I was like, oh, right, he's acting. That's true. Yeah. And I was, I could just listen to you talk all day. So another question that I've got, is, and this is a big one too, is relating to, because we talked about you, we've talked about the Asian influence on everything else, but in terms of Star Trek, because again, it's one of your major roles, but like in terms of Star Trek as a legacy, like we know Star Wars has their legacy. All these massive franchises that are going to be talked about for years and decades and possibly centuries, or however long they're going to be talked about before print media goes out of style, before the bombs fall. Watch out for those terrorists. We don't know anything's going to happen. But in terms of Star Trek, like again, that's a world that I'm not so much a part of, and I didn't pay attention to it much beyond The Next Generation, because all I really paid attention to, I knew what time of day it was, because I could hear on the TV once Mom's stories ended, you could hear da, 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 and then I would go and I would like the lights, because I was like 5 or 6 when I kind of started to get into it. So it was the colors, and it was the phasers and body slide to 1 or whatever it was. So that was my extent of it. And then it was like, well, I'm Star Wars, Star Trek. Yeah. But then Abrams came out with the new Star Trek, and I was like, okay. Yeah. And it was lens flares aplenty. Yes. But now I feel there's been quite a revival, but I don't know, have you seen it that way, or has it always been the same for you, because you've known your fans?
What trajectory is Star Trek on, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's just first of all talk about legacy for my show, for Voyager. that would be the first female captain. That's the legacy that puts.
Right.
Oh,
That's
okay.
true.
It is the most empowering
And that is news
show.
to me. Like I said, I
Yes.
apologize. My
It
Star
is-
Trek knowledge is not as
Right, what was-
boss.
I highly recommend anyone who's viewing this, if you have a daughter, watch Star Trek Voyager with
I
her.
got 2.
Watch Star Trek Voyager with your daughter.
Because
Yeah.
she kicks
Because
ass.
the bottom line
Really?
is
Yes, she does.
there's still a lot of gender inequality.
Mhm.
I don't know about Canada, but definitely America.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, we
It's
really,
prevalent. You can see it everywhere.
If you're a female CEO,
Right.
you're making less than a male CEO.
Right.
Why is that? It's
Yeah.
because of gender.
Yeah, right,
It's not
right,
about
right.
ability.
No,
It's not
no,
about talent.
100%.
It's not about intelligence.
Yeah,
Okay?
100%.
Girls can do anything the boys can do.
Mhm.
But a lot of times when you grow up in a society that sort of values men more than women for some reason when it comes to business, and that gets lopsided. So Voyager is a show that is so empowering because it's a woman that is calling all the shots. All the boys defer to our female captain. When we premiered in January of 1995, we got death threats from people that were channel surfing and saw that.
Wow.
They said, how dare you?
Yeah.
Guess what? We're coming to Los Angeles. We're going to scale the walls of Paramount Studios.
Yeah.
We're going to set explosives on your soundstage and blow it up. Hopefully you're filming while we blow it up because you all deserve to die for allowing a woman
That's great.
to be in command.
Are we under the assumption that those people were Star Trek fans
No,
or just
these are just
people?
people channel surfing.
Wow.
Star Trek
Okay.
fans would never in a million years
first
say that.
trolls, really,
Okay.
truly.
Because I didn't know if, like, you know, hardcore fans were like,
funny
male
enough-
captain, male captain. Oh, what are you doing?
But it wouldn't have started with her because I'm sure that wouldn't have happened in the original series when Kirk kissed Uhura. Didn't that? Because she was a woman,
Yeah.
and she was in a position
And-
of somewhat power, and she was black. That was huge at the time, wasn't it?
To some
It broke
extent.
barriers.
Well, it would have been huger if it was flipped. If it was,
True,
a,
too.
if it was
Fair,
a black captain
fair,
kissing
fair.
a white female,
That would have been-
people
yeah,
would have-
yeah.
people would have lost their shit
yeah,
over that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But-
I can see that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that wasn't the big deal. But
Yeah.
it definitely having a female captain in 1995 was something that a lot
I
of
think
people did not like.
the only thing I can relate that to, and I hope I'm saying this right because it's been a minute since I looked into it, but I'm a big Power Rangers fan. I don't know if you grew up watching Power Rangers at all.
Too, yeah.
But I think recently, if I'm not mistaken, there actually was a female Red Ranger that was like the leader, and I think that was also somewhat groundbreaking because I don't think that had ever happened.
Right.
You know, because usually the red is the man, right?
The
And,
fans.
yeah.
What
So,
were they? No.
but you know what? Like you said, it they're still breaking down those barriers,
Yeah.
right? Even this is the newest
never
season
gonna
I'm
stop.
talking about, right?
Yeah.
So like it wasn't in 2000. This is like 2025,
I know.
2023.
Isn't
I
that
mean,
crazy?
right?
We'll break
It's
down
just
one
like-
barrier, but then there's another one you got to find to break.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah. So
But,
speaking of Power Rangers,
yeah.
I was at a convention and my booth was next to Walter Jones.
Oh,
who played
Black
Black
Ranger.
Black Ranger.
Oh, okay.
I'm the Power
And
Ranger. Look this way.
he turned. He had his. He had a boombox. He had something there. He
Yeah,
turns
yeah.
on the music. We had a dance off.
Oh, okay.
Him and I. It was like the funniest thing I've ever.
I don't know your talent, but I'm pretty sure he's a really good dancer.
He's a good dancer.
Yeah.
He's a
That
good
was
dancer.
and that was the
What are
funny
you
thing.
doing?
Not
If you
to
look at Walter Jones, he has not changed.
no.
His face is the same.
He's the same. He looks
doesn't
like
age
no,
at all.
no.
I almost feel like Walter Jones did a deal with the devil. He's like, you will look the same. for
Yeah.
many years.
You will
But
learn
that's-
every
you know
dance
what?
off
Yeah.
you
But not
ever
to go
start.
off the rail of your interview, of course, but it is funny that in the show of Power Rangers, the Zach, right, Walter Jones, his character would do a dance move into the karate, so he would be like, right? But you know what, though? Having said that, it's crazy how they took those characters
Yeah.
and that actually made them lovable, right? It was like,
Yeah.
who, like
What's
who
their
dances and fights, you
That
know? Right.
quirkiness became endearing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah,
I mean,
Star
it's
Trek.
cool.
Oh,
So, yeah.
so wait, other fandoms.
enough of that. My question.
Yeah.
So someone on Twitter asked a while ago. They said if they were to recast the Voyager cast, like do a remake of
Right.
your show,
Yeah.
who would you cast
Like
as your
today?
younger self?
Yeah.
who would you cast as
Okay.
your younger self?
Okay.
So I answered, other than one of the members of the Korean boy band BTS or whatever, things like
Yeah.
that. I was like, maybe
My sister-in-law is gonna love that
Ken
answer.
Jeong. I said that as a joke.
Yeah.
like Ken Jeong
Ooh.
from The Hangover.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, so,
Community.
Yeah.
But he, obviously, he's not young enough to play.
Yeah.
Kim. But the minute I tweeted that, within seconds, he messaged me. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. Thank you so much. Thank
community, man, that
Thank you
community.
for
I've
made it."
recommending me as being playing
Right,
your
right,
role." It was
right.
the funniest thing. I'm
Oh,
like, "Oh my
man.
God!" And again, I don't know him personally, but Asian
Again,
actors
you know
tend
the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as gaming, when I was young, played a ton of Call of Duty. I don't even know how many hours I put in.
Still play Call of Duty?
No,
Give me that
here's the
Warzone
thing.
tag. Give me that
Verdansk is
Warzone
I
coming
tag.
have
back.
to, no, I have, I'm not good with gaming because I don't eat, I don't sleep.
Been there.
You know, I can game literally 24 hours straight. And
ADHD.
not ever. Oh, so in order for me to be a functioning member of society, I have to pack my gaming console away. And because it's too much of a temptation.
No,
for me. I can't control myself.
Yeah, I was I got 2 kids now, but right when COVID happened, I had no kids, and my wife is a nurse, so she would work 12-hour shifts, and she would be gone from like 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Oh, God.
All right, honey, I love you.
12 hours straight gaming. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't even know
haven't
what
been
I'm
a
saying.
day.
Yeah, I know.
It's very easy to.
But I just it's like you said earlier. It's the you don't realize with the actors and the voice actors and the people, it's behind the scenes, like the real people, right? And like I said, to see that you guys are tweeting and you get a tweet or you see someone mention a tweet and you're like, oh my God, this person said this. It's just really, really cool to know the inner workings of that sometimes because you don't see that on screen. That's the stuff that goes on. Like you might have numbers to this person, that person, that you're like, what are you at today? Like, sorry, that was a newfie thing. What are you at today?
What does that mean?
You'll learn.
Don't worry. Basically, it's what are you at today? But
what's going on?
The way we say is like, what are you at today?
What are you at today? It's a little...
Man, that was actually really good.
I'm from Alberta.
You could be,
I'm
are
still
you
working on
Newfoundlander?
it.
No.
Not yet. We've got a COD somewhere.
Yeah, an actual COD, not Call of Duty.
All right, I'm out.
Garrett, I do believe it has been an ultimate pleasure for us to have you on our channel and do this interview with you and learn about your career, about your personality traits.
Before you do that, is there anything you want to plug? Do you want to tell the viewers?
Yeah. I mean, if you have socials and whatever.
Anything coming up that you would be like, watch this?
Yeah. Well, I'm mostly. I mean, I do have a Twitter. I don't call it X. I still call it Twitter.
Yeah, same.
And my Instagram. It's the
do you
same
have a blue
address.
sky?
Yeah, I don't yet. At Garrett R Wang, so I have my middle initial in there. Because I was copying Jerry Ryan from Voyager. She had Jerry L. Ryan. Yeah. Unbeknownst to me, that of course someone else is going to take my Garrett Wang.
Right.
So I found the guy that has that account, and I'm like, hey, can you change your profile photo? Because his profile photo was of 2 kids getting up out of the ocean. It's taken from above the back of a boat. And you can tell that they're Asian heads. And so it's like anyone looking is like, oh, it's Garrett and his cousin when they're kids.
They're basic clickbait.
So I'm like, dude, what do you can you change your photo? And he's like, no. He's like, you're the real Garrett. I was like, okay, what's the deal here? Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to keep my photo the way it is. I said, well, then people won't know. They're going to confuse your account for mine because
you're going to get harassed.
You're going to get. He's like, I've already got tons of people thinking that I'm you. And I said, so you're not going to change your profile photo? And he's like, and then I asked him, I said, how old are you? He's like, I'm 13. I go, oh, that's why. He's a teenager. Yeah. And I go, where do you live? He's like, I live in Singapore. So he's a real Asian kid, but he's not 13 now. He's obviously.
How many V-Bucks do you want? How much V-Bucks do you think this worth?
He didn't ask me for it. He didn't try to get money out of me, but still, it was so classic that he had that teenager attitude. That's sort of like, no, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not doing that. Whatever.
Can't wait for my girls to have teenager attitude.
Hey, how old are they now?
5 months old and 2 years and 6 months.
Cherish them now before they get to teenagers.
Yeah, a few slamming doors.
Once they get to that age, you will start questioning whether or not they are your children. Hey, you're like, wait a minute, is this the little girl that I love?
Yeah, I agree. I got the pictures. I'm hoping to keep the pictures.
Spend as much time as you can with them right now before they turn 18.
I'm taking on to that voice. Garrett, once again, thank you so much for joining us for our interview on our channel. It's been great to see your, like you said, hear about your life, your acting career, and stuff that you're interested in. Myself and Peter, we're very looking forward to meeting you this weekend.
So,
and for anyone who is watching, we have many more interviews to come up this weekend, hopefully with the guests who are at the panel guests, right? But yeah, so if you're watching this video, as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, follow Garrett over on his socials as well, as long with ours. And it's been a pleasure doing this interview with you, Garrett. Thank you so much for coming in. Nice meeting you.
Thanks so much for doing this.
It's been fun.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am the real Jussy.
And I'm Peter Parkour. And like we always say around here,
keep it real.